Hello, everyone. My name is Logan Hart,
And I'm Will Keller.
and welcome to the very first episode of the Healing with Hydrogen podcast. Very excited to kick this series off and share all the new information, or maybe stuff you haven't heard before, about this very up and coming new body of science and a revolutionary way of healing the body, optimizing the health, and I'm excited to get into it. So, before we get into some of the more specifics of hydrogen and the implications of that, let's start off by just talking a little bit about the thing that matters most, ourselves, right? Who are we? So, Will and I are both experienced content creators. We've been very active and putting out podcasts and YouTube channels mainly focused around spiritual philosophy, the principles of freedom and morality, right? Offering those sort of deeper, more esoteric solutions to the many problems of the world. But you have to kind of work from both ends, the metaphysical and the physical, because this realm is where the work is done, and you can't discount one or the other. They both matter. So, what better way to maximize your effectiveness in the three-dimensional world than to make sure your body is functioning the best that it possibly can be, keeping your positivity and your emotions high, your brain is functioning better, you'll live longer. Like, there's so many benefits to caring about your health and putting in the work to make sure that you're going to get the most out of that quality of life. So again, I've been a content creator about 5 years, and I'm excited to start this new venture because this is a bit of a different approach than I think Will and I are both used to. A more broader audience, a more direct and simplified, just straight to the point. Um, and I'm really excited about it. So, Will, do you want to share more about your side of things?
Yeah, absolutely. And well said on the introduction.
Thank you.
Um, and it's a perfect segue because we're talking about healing. And I do think this is an ongoing process. Being, in the physical realm, you have a body. It's not limitless. So it's up to us to take care of ourselves. And that's exactly where my journey began in 2012, where I was battling some health conditions with autoimmune, specifically psoriasis, and kind of really doing my own research and diving into the how and why and what and how can I regenerate myself? How can I stop this ailment in its tracks? And it led me to a good friend of mine at the time introduced me to hydrogen water. And at that time in 2012, it was not that many people have heard of hydrogen water at all. It was really rare. It was more well known in the east part of the world, in the Asian countries, and diving into that, it was really awe inspiring because first educating myself on what hydrogen water was and how it affected my body, and also experiencing positive results and healing from that. That I always call my first love because it sent me on a path and a trajectory of just truth seeking in general. And following the research and the scientific studies of what hydrogen water is, and it really was an eye opener. So of course, getting into certain communities, and getting into some top large water ionizer communities and manufacturers and companies, um, but dealing with sales and machines and devices was one thing. The research, the science was another, and that's really where my heart was laid, following this ongoing progression of information and studies. And I continue that and really had a realization of these big companies and the lack of certain attributes that they had. And we'll dive more into that, later on.
Hmm.
So I left those companies and still followed the science and the research. And, fast forward many different life paths, Logan and I are reunited, and this huge, profound topic enters into our aperture, our perception once again.
Right, right. And the passion for the science and the healing benefits remained through that. I had a similar journey, although doesn't go nearly as far back as yours will. I got into this space about 5 years ago as well, and similar thing. I was fascinated by hydrogen itself, but as I dug deeper into the companies that I was involved with, kind of was what taking a step back as far as just not optimal in terms of the technology and some of the integrity of just the overall way of going about things that didn't align with me, didn't resonate with me. So I took a step back from that, didn't feel good about promoting those things, but I knew hydrogen was legit. So basically, we want to set the stage before we start getting into some of the basics of hydrogen. This episode will be, introducing hydrogen therapy, molecular hydrogen therapy. But just before we get into that, I want to state what is our intention with this podcast. Why should you, follow us, not just listen to this episode, but subscribe and follow our journey, because it very much is going to be a journey. This is a new realm for us in terms of like all the combinations of our skill sets, but being applied to this thing in particular. And really, we just want to almost like document our own learning process, sharing what we know and what we're learning. So we want to lay out a good, strong foundation, especially in these early episodes. So it makes a good place for anyone to start at episode 1 and move forward and build that foundational base. But then as we move forward, Will and I are going to be staying finger on the pulse of these new. There's so much new research and studies being done ongoing, and so we want to be the ones to have first access to that information, but then distill it down into very simple, digestible form and redistribute it out to you. So we're kind of doing all the heavy lifting, wading through all the scientific jargon, and then just condensing that down into very simple, easy to understand language so that you guys can stay on the cutting edge of this amazing new thing as well. And so we're all in this journey together as hydrogen grows. And essentially, we want to help be at the forefront of bringing the awareness to this, and then also access to the technology, which we'll get into towards the end of the episode. So do stay tuned for that.
Yeah, man. Well said. I'm excited for this because, like you said, it's like to the viewers, come on this journey with us. This is growing. It's inevitable that
Hmm.
the awareness and the knowledge will spread and people will become aware of the healing modalities of molecular hydrogen. And people are already utilizing this profound elemental magic, so to say, natural, holistic form of therapy, of healing, of maintaining the upkeep of the body, the mind, the spirit, all of that goodness. So it's going to be fun to kind of unfold the foundations, but also to continue the journey with the viewers as well.
Absolutely. So, Will, do you want to kick us off and just start with, introduce the concept? What is hydrogen therapy?
Absolutely. So before let's kind of define our terms, right? We have hydrogen therapy. Now, there are many forms of hydrogen. What is hydrogen itself? So, the three forms of hydrogen, you have molecular hydrogen, which is the gas form. Hydrogen itself is the gas. It's the smallest and lightest element, and it's also the first element on the periodic table. So this is important because the universe is made up of 90% hydrogen. It's a foundational element. It's the essence of life. And there are many forms of what hydrogen is, right? So you have hydrogen, and when a hydrogen atom is paired with another hydrogen atom, then it becomes a hydrogen molecule, right? So this is also known as molecular hydrogen, diatomic hydrogen, hydrogen gas. And this is the form of hydrogen that we are specifically talking about. When we say the term hydrogen, most people will associate that to water or hydrogen fuel powered vehicles, or maybe the hydrogen bomb. But these are all separate things. This is not exactly what we are talking about. We are talking about molecular hydrogen, two hydrogen atoms paired together, meaning that it is a stable molecule and it's in the form of gas. Therapy, right, is the administration of molecular hydrogen. And there are four common methods. There's inhalation, breathing the gas. There is molecular hydrogen gas that is diffused or dissolved into water itself. There's saline injection. And there's also topical therapy as well, where you are bathing in hydrogen rich water. When we get into the forms of hydrogen, it's important to understand that the atoms are comprised of a proton, which is a positive charged, a neutron, which is neutral, and then an electron, which is negatively charged. So when you have molecular hydrogen, they are paired by a covalescent bond together, which means it is a neutral molecule, meaning that it is extremely stable. Opposed to that would be the hydrogen atom, which is positively charged and is extremely reactive. It is an unstable molecule. So that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about the stable form, which is molecular hydrogen. And I put an emphasis on that because it is very common when you're talking about hydrogen. It's either associated with water. Well, why do we need therapy when we're drinking water? It has hydrogen in it, which is an oxygen and two hydrogen atoms. We are talking about the therapy of administrating molecular hydrogen gas as an independent source, and then also adding that into water.
H2.
H2, exactly. Molecular hydrogen is H2. And then of course the therapy portion, which we can expand on that. But the therapeutic benefits and the application of H2 gas, molecular hydrogen, is not new at all. In fact, it has been around for hundreds of years. Hundreds of years.
Right. Well, thousands if you want to consider that ionization actually occurs naturally when lightning strikes a body of water. So this is like the OG nature's version of electrolysis that will
Yes.
actually separate those oxygen and hydrogen atoms and produce that H2. Now, in the late 1700s, that's where as far as we know, the earliest reports of H2's medicinal benefits. So they just started becoming aware of that at all um, almost 300 years ago. That's pretty wild. And then fast forward all the way to the 1930s, that's when research on electrolyzed reduced water began in Japan. So this general awareness is a lot further along in Asian countries to this day. It's a lot more known about and even integrated and implemented in especially Japan, Taiwan, Korea. They use it for medicine. They have them in hospitals, many of them. So again, we're trying to take what is being moved forward and bring that, especially focusing in on the West, America, Canada, parts of Europe and Australia. And also, this is really fascinating to me that in the 40s, the deep sea divers were using hydrogen to counteract divers sickness or the bends
Mm.
and or decompression sickness, and they were using extremely high dosages. And since then, there have still never been any negative or cytotoxic toxic effects ever recorded or documented with the use of H2, even at hundreds of times more concentration than the normal therapeutic levels that the common machines of the day are utilizing essentially. So you literally can't get too much of it. Any excess is just diffused from the body after it uses what it needs essentially. So then in the 70s, um, Dole, Wilson, and Fife discovered that hyperbaric oxygen therapy could have potential therapeutic effects, such as inhibiting cancer growth in mice. So it's like starting very small, general, very vague awareness, and then as science does, it starts getting more specific and figuring out, okay, what are its more specific uses, and then when you dial that in, then you can test in a more targeted way and get more results. So it was in the mid to late 2000s essentially when things started kind of picking up, like getting exponentially more tested and well known. In 2007, Osawa and his affiliates published a groundbreaking paper in Nature Medicine showing that inhalation of 2% hydrogen gas could reduce oxidative stress and neuronal damage in rat models. This study opened the door to much more research on hydrogen's antioxidant properties, which, again, if you know anything about disease and chronic disease, inflammation and oxidative stress are pretty much the root cause of virtually every illness. So you're starting to see that it's like, because it's the broad implications are so potent for this, because it's getting at the very root level.
And, in the early to mid 2000s, to add to this, especially when the Nature Medicine um, um, article came out, that was really the flame that just started to spiral into a higher level of awareness for molecular hydrogen therapy, for sure. And in fact, Japan started to recognize H2 gas as a medical novel emerging gas. And it really had a lot of attention on there. And that's great. That's fantastic. So looking at it now, there's over 3,000 studies with over 200 human disease models, and it's really growing as time goes on. It's quite incredible.
Hmm.
So let's talk about hydrogen therapy itself, right? What makes molecular hydrogen therapeutic with all of these benefits? Well, molecular hydrogen is an selective antioxidant, meaning that it's a stable molecule and it's the smallest. So not only can it enter the body and go to every organ with ease, it can even go down to the DNA and RNA level and influence and benefit the mitochondria.
Hmm.
So when we think about disease, like you said, Logan, where it comes down to oxidation and inflammation. Most people know about antioxidants and they take vitamin C and all this kind of stuff, but the antioxidants in chemical form, such as vitamin C, can't get down to that base level. So molecular hydrogen can um, not only go to those lower levels, it is selective, meaning that it knows and it can regulate young, healthy cells, or and boost their vitality and aid and assist them, but also the older, unhealthy, decaying cells, it can actually spark, which is called cellular death, apoptosis. And that's a process of detoxification as well. So it has these multiple effects, like a selective antioxidant, where it can both regulate, upregulate, and downregulate your body's own capabilities to keep the body in balance, in homeostasis.
Hmm.
Right. So this is a natural modality. The body recognizes hydrogen because hydrogen itself is produced in the gut. And the body itself is about 9.5% hydrogen. We breathe, we exhale hydrogen gas that is produced in the gut. So the body is absolutely comfortable with molecular hydrogen gas. It loves it because it's adding a security level to the body, activates the body's own antioxidant response element pathways, which lead to the production of various cytoprotective proteins. So it's assisting the body itself by giving it a boost. And then the up and down regulation of the body's own proteins, meaning that it can tell the difference, between pro and con issues in the body to increase or decrease enzymes. So it's really fascinating. And, scientists are still trying to figure out how the selectiveness truly operates. And, in my opinion, that's getting down to a metaphysical level and a spiritual level that maybe we can kind of explore in later episodes.
Hmm. Yeah, it makes me think of like acupuncture, for example.
Mm,
Scientists don't know how it works, they just know that it works. And that's pretty incredible because it goes to show there's a innate and profound intelligence to nature well
yes.
beyond our our own understandings of things. And sometimes the best way to heal is to let nature and the body do its work and be the miracle that it is essentially. And it's incredible to me that something as so simple as just an H2 molecule that makes up 90% of the universe can do so much for the body, not to heal it, but to aid the body in healing itself, because that's what it does.
Mm,
And that's just beautiful. It's
absolutely.
it's not about spending, you know, hundreds of thousands of dollars and surgeries and pharmaceuticals and all of that just to mask the symptoms and suppress and totally ignoring the root cause, or healing the body at a systemic and cellular level. That is the way, in my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that. And, especially nowadays when, you have to be honest with yourself. We live in a world full of toxicity. And when someone goes on that path to look at healing or just general wellness, there's a lot of information out there, right?
Mm.
I call it information deprivation. You can get burned out on trying to figure out what's trending, what's going to help me, and what pathways to follow.
Or
But
analysis paralysis.
yeah, exactly. Absolutely. But comprehending this fundamental element and how the body can respond with it on its natural in its natural way, being a selective antioxidant, meaning that it doesn't affect other healthy oxidation. And that might be new for someone to hear, right? When you hear about health and antioxidants, people are taking thousands of milligrams of vitamin C, thinking that they have to rid themselves of these of
Free
oxidative
radicals.
stress, free radicals, when in fact the body needs a certain healthy, balanced level of free radicals. It stimulates the body, it keeps the body in check, so to
Hmm.
say.
Hmm.
So everything's functioning good. But what's great about molecular hydrogen is that because of its selectivity, it can neutralize the most dangerous free radicals, which are the hydroxyl free radicals, which is it's an unstable molecule is what it is. And H2 can neutralize it, and in fact when it neutralizes it, it turns itself into water. So the byproduct is water itself on that process. So not only does it aid the body in eliminating the most dangerous free radicals, it also balancing processes
Hydration,
hydration.
which dehydration is another one of those very root issues to a lot of chronic diseases as well.
Yes, exactly. It's fascinating.
It is. It's yeah, very exciting. I can't wait to continue learning about this. Um, and so, yeah, I mean, to this day, there's more and more studies. As Will said, there's over 3,000 now, and that's growing. And that it's advances in the devices and the research, is showing, you know, hydrogen as a potential adjunctive treatment for a wider range of diseases. And the research is ongoing, and it's just getting more efficient and specific, and only continuing to prove its safety and efficacy in larger scale clinical trials. So the technology is improving, the knowledge is increasing, and so it's becoming more accessible, so that's great as well. And that leads into what we are doing in addition to the awareness. So Ostara Hydrogen Therapy, we have a three-pronged mission statement is as to what we're out to accomplish. So it's about awareness, education, and access. So, awareness is now it exists. The education is learning more about how it works and the many benefits that it has. And then, well, what good is knowledge if you can't use it, right? So, access. We're trying to help people get access to this technology in a very easy way that you can do from home, and that is through a H2 generator machine. So, that is the third prong of our mission with Ostara is we have partnered with a manufacturer in Taiwan, very, very high quality, utmost quality in innovation, and very well established, and to basically bring their machines to a Western market through our outreach. And so, we want to share that opportunity with you as well. And so, first of all, as we conclude this first episode, hopefully it was just kind of a teaser to get you more interested in and wanting to learn more. We want to invite you to our free webinar that goes a lot more in depth and in sort of a wide scale into not only hydrogen, but more about what we're doing specifically with Ostara. So if that interests you, I think it'll be very profound and impactful, and it's free. So there's no downside, there's no risk to you. It just takes a second to sign up. So click the link below in the description and in the pinned comment, and you just put in your email, and we'll immediately send you the link to watch the webinar. So definitely check that out. And then Will, if you would like to pull up our website and show what we have over there. This is ostarahydrogen.com. So right there at the top there, you can opt into the webinar as well. You can learn more about our company, and you can find our machine, the VH600 there if you want to get started and start experiencing the benefits of hydrogen, molecular hydrogen therapy.
Absolutely. You know, it like you were talking about the 3 levels with our mission, right? Or awareness and access. And I find it very synchronistic that you and I came together and decided to take action on this venture because we were experiencing unethical factors in certain industries or certain companies. And Logan and I both, integrity and ethics are at a high principle for us. So reaching out to certain manufacturers and understanding the device on a fundamental level, it's extremely important to us that it is a functioning at high quality and it is
Hmm.
safe and effective. And we really found an excellent device because
Hmm.
there's a lot of devices out there that are subpar technology, and you're not getting to that therapeutic zone of molecular hydrogen gas.
Exactly. Right. And so that's the beauty of it is we were able to pick exactly what we were looking for. We had our own standards and criteria, and then we didn't settle until we found exactly that. And I would say exceeded, our own expectations with the 2-in-1 and everything. But you can learn more about that in the webinar, so do check that out. And we're going to be sending out more emails as well to continue the education in just nice little digestible bite-sized pieces. And we hope that you'll, like I said, join us on this journey. Subscribe below, hit the bell notification so you get those little notifications every time we come out with something new. And we're just going to keep laying this out, starting at the basics, but then getting into more specifics about different disease applications, new innovations, new studies, covering all of that stuff. And I think it's going to be really, really awesome. The further we go along with this, so excited for the future. Will, do you have anything else you want to add?
I think you wrapped it up. You said it beautifully. So I'm thrilled for this journey, and I hope people come along with us.
Right. So please give the video a thumbs up, share this with a friend, help us, with that outreach aspect. Again, check out the webinar. And that's going to wrap us up for episode 1 of the Healing with Hydrogen podcast. And we hope to see you again soon in the next episode. Take care, everyone.